It wasn't this poor sketchbook's fault. It really was my 7th sketchbook's fault, but this one, my 8th, had to bear the consequences. I had stolen a chunk of this sketchbook to use in my last one, which had too much watercolor paper for my liking at the time. I swapped out a chunk of this sketchbook's regular paper for that one's thicker watercolor paper. Ms. Number 8 here, though, could never really accommodate the thickness of the watercolor paper, and I resorted to slicing her spine wide open, which finally did give her some relief. I used a piece of cardstock as a new, thicker spine, taped it all together, and covered up the carnage with some faux leather that I made from a brown paper bag. And making the faux leather is what I want to show you in this video today. To make my faux leather, I cut out panels from a brown paper bag and then crinkled it up. The more wrinkles, the better, so knock yourself out on this part. And then, since it was late morning and my husband hadn't even gotten up out of bed yet, I stole the last of the coffee to stain my paper bag. As we say in my household, too slow, ain't no Joe. I rubbed some coffee grounds in for good measure, and I did get some black lines in some of the wrinkles that I think might have been from the grounds. Here it is dried up, and it does have some nice brown stains as well as these black lines in the veins of the leather. I watered down some Mod Podge and coated it front and back to give it some extra strength, and I like the sort of glossy look that it ended up having after the Mod Podge. So here it is before I apply any paint at all, with just the coffee staining and the Mod Podge. Then I went over the top of the wrinkles with some yellow ochre, dry brushing it on, so just a very little bit of paint on my brush, and I lightly brushed the tops of the wrinkles, and they picked up the yellow ochre. And I crinkled it up some more to accentuate the deepest wrinkles with the yellow ochre. I don't think you can really go wrong with this process. If I were to put on too much yellow ochre, I could always go over that with brown or black, sepia, some other color that I would like better than the yellow. I decided to try gold paint as well. I loved how the gold paint came out. I don't think it really picks up on camera as looking that different from the yellow, but trust me, this is a super classy looking brown paper bag. I didn't actually film covering my sketchbook with the faux leather, but I'll show you another use I came up with for it, as well as these different colors and different techniques that I tried. I used a sponge to lightly sponge on some red over a more blackened leather. And I used this yellow stamp pad to lightly brush on the yellow onto the tops of the wrinkles. And I also used just a paper towel to lightly dab on some color as well. So a lot of different techniques could be used for adding some color to your faux leather. Personally, my favorite colors were the gold and the yellow ochre, and I did like some grungy black in there as well. I Mod Podged my favorite pieces onto my sketchbook cover. I didn't film that, but I'm going to show you another use for faux leather. I added a textual element to this spread in my sketchbook. I transferred the expression, "Here be monsters," onto my faux leather. I love this expression. I guess the story goes that on ancient maps, they would map the known world, and then at the edge of the wilderness, at the edge of the unknown, they would maybe put a picture of a dragon or a sea monster and mark it with "Here be monsters." So I thought that would be a fun way to use the faux leather in a finished sketchbook spread of monsters. And then my last step was to glue on some virtually invisible edging to my little sign, and it was done. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you try faux leather. I'm already thinking of more and more uses that I want to use it for. I hope you'll come back next week for my 8th sketchbook tour. Take care.